city or a town, a frown. The business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts, the underground sound in a city or a town, a frown. The business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts. The underground sound is the voice within, to give ear to the spirit and to flee from sin, to live for Jesus and the praise of Him by not selling out for the praise of men, to do whatever it takes, no matter what the cost, to keep pushing up the weight, carrying the cross, straight bench pressing sin, defend the word that lacks, and your best mention Him, or then you're gon' die. Cause the underground sound in a city or a town, the business of a crown, of the living that abounds, of the church and the announcements. It's doing what counts, the underground sound in a city or a town, the frown.
Hello, my name is Maddox, all-time world record holder in the squat. Check out Scott Davenport's book, Scott Strong, to try something different and gain some size and strength. Maddox.
All right, we are live and alive on the Underground Sound. I'm here with Bill Gillespie. Two things I want to just make an announcement about the podcast, that we have taken on sponsorship. Troponin Nutrition, Justin Harris is going to be sponsoring us. So that's super awesome. And Pete's going to be working with him on his nutrition, going to the next level. That's awesome. And then, Bill, I know that you have some sponsors that you wanted to mention as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm no longer employed as a strength coach, but I work for Sarnex Equipment Company as a strength coach. And currently, I'm writing, I just released an article, a manual on reintroducing strength training to athletes after an extended break. And that might be something we could talk about, because I know there's going to be a lot of lifters out there who may not have been able to go to the gym. And I have a very, very unique style of reintroducing lifting that's been super successful for over 30 years. And then the other company I work for is called Swish 30. It's a supplement company where they sell a micronized glutathione. And it's an antioxidant that is just amazing what it can do for you.
Oh, yeah. I heard you talking about that before. And yeah, man, if you want to go ahead and shoot on that, what you were talking about there.
Yeah, if I get talking too much about it, I mean, people start thinking I'm selling snake oil, because it's just like, there's no way it can do all of that. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I got to be careful. Now, we're getting studies done on all the things that it can do and prove that how beneficial it is for you. But I have seen my attention, my focus level go through the roof. It's amazing. Without any caffeine, no stimulation in it at all, your attention level, your ability to focus goes to an extreme level. And it's been, what's coincidental is the exact same time I started taking it, my bench press started this whole huge progression that just went nuts in the last year and a half. So I've got to say, there's got to be some correlation between it, So I really believe in the stuff. I think it really works. And I know that it helps heal the body from the cellular level out. And so what I'm trying to do is help out some like my former NFL players and former players from University of Washington, and help them have a better quality of life, because that's what I've seen in my life. The older you get, after the age of 30, your glutathione levels start to drop so dramatically. And now here I am 60, and my body was pretty beat up, and now I feel phenomenal. And so I'm not a salesman. I don't really make that much money selling it. But if people want to try it, the first time you order it, if you use the code Coach Bill, go to swish30.com, use the code Coach Bill, and I think you get, 35% off and on your first order. So I really believe in it. And I'll take the days of my competition. I'll take as much as 3/4 of a bottle of it. That's how much. I mean, I take a lot when I compete. But I'll swish. It tastes like water. Take a mouthful, swish it in your mouth for a minute, swallow it, and I'll do like 4 to 6 doses before a workout. And I'm laser focused, man. And that's the key to hitting the big lifts is great workouts and then recovering from them. It's not rocket science by any means whatsoever,
Yeah, I was listening to you talk about, I was like pretty blown away because you were talking about how you've actually had like bad decades in your training. And I was like, man, that is a crazy, like, to go through all of that and then to start getting the results that you got. Because, I mean, I think Josh Bryant was saying, like, you're like one of the best benchers, like, ever, right? I think that's what he said.
We found out that on open powerlifting, if you go to the McCollum formula, which is pound for pound, weight lifted, and factoring your age, I have the #1 bench press of all time.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially just like going through all that stuff. Like, I'm pretty interested, man, in your whole story, just because you're. I know that you've leaned on your faith a lot, and that's a big part of it. And I just,
yes, sir.
Wonder what that was like. I mean, going through all those years of like not progressing, like, not giving up, and what that was like. Like, how was your relationship with God through all that too? Like,
yeah. Oh, I'd love to talk about that.
Yeah.
Scott, thank you for offering me this opportunity. I always wanted to be really, really strong since I was as soon as I knew there was such a thing as being strong, I wanted to be strong. 3 years old, I wanted to be strong. I had an uncle who was really strong. He benched 505 back in the late 50s, I think it was, early 60s, in the Walla Walla State Penitentiary. But but he was really, really strong, and I always wanted to be strong like him, And but I never was very strong. I worked hard. I did in the 9th grade. I did 600 push-ups a day, 12 sets of 50. Just whatever I could do. I didn't know. There was no internet back in those days. Finding out any information was just, so hard, so difficult. And so I was never afraid to work hard. I just didn't have any clue how to work hard. And so I just kept working at it. I graduated from college. I went to the very first ADFPA National Championships, American Drug-Free Powerlifting Championships. This is before the round system. So they used to take the lightest weight, whoever took the lightest weight, he'd go first, and then whoever took the second lightest weight, and it could be you, would take your second, take the next attempt. Well, I took my first, second, and third attempt, and I was done. And then they put 35 pounds on the bar for the second worst bench presser to be, I was horrible. I benched 341. I was just bad. At the age of 35, I'm stuck around 440, 450, and I was just convinced it was a genetic thing. I was not gifted at it. But I was fortunate to be exposed to some of the Soviet Union weightlifting coaches and through a seminar through the coach Johnny Parker up with the New York Giants. And for 3 days, we got to hear all the facts about how to get strong. And so I took that information and I started to develop my own system of training. I said to myself, I'm a smart guy. I've been doing this for a while. I could do dips with a lot of weight. I could do 6 dips all the way down, all the way up with 5 45-pound plates, but I only benched 325. So something wasn't right. My best at one time, I did 8 plates for 6 dips when I was at the University of Washington. So I was really good at dips, but I couldn't bench. I was just not very good at it. So I reinvented how to train the bench press. I just said, I'm going to throw out everything that everybody's ever told me to do, and I'm going to do it my way and figure out a totally different system of doing it. And that's when my bench press started to take off. It just went crazy. About 50 to 70 pounds a year after the age of 35. And I kept experimenting. I hit a wall. I couldn't get through that barrier. And I tell people the honest truth is that I hit that wall, and I couldn't get over the wall. I couldn't get through the wall. If I went left or right, would be compromising. So the only choice I had was to fall on my knees and beg God, show me a way through this thing. And he'd go and show me something so revolutionary that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we've never thought of this before. And so I'd implement all these new ideas in my programming, and slowly but surely my bench just kept going up. It's been a process of my life. It's a really kind of cool because the weight is a consistent factor. The poundage never changes. I mean, as far as 1,000 pounds, it's 1,000 pounds. It's been 1,000 pounds forever. Okay. But the variable that changed was me. I was the one that had to change. I'm the one that had to adapt. I'm the one that had to do all this adapting. And the weight increases are just a representation of the changes that have occurred in my life in this journey of this process that I've gone through in developing my bench press. People tell me that it's crazy that I'm 60 years old, benching the most weight of my life that I've ever benched, but I don't feel 60. I guess if 60 has a feeling, I feel great. I'm putting up some great numbers, even in my workouts right now. So I'm extremely thankful for what I've done. But I think God just I never take a break from training. If I'm going to go light, I'll lift light for a week, maybe 2 weeks every 6 months out of the year. But I never stop lifting. I never go and tell myself that lie that I deserve a break. The only breaks that are going to occur is I'm going to come back get injured, So I never stop lifting, and God's blessed it, So I really think, honestly, I could have been a better deadlifter, but I think the bench press is the only lift that survived my mentality, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man, it's hard, man. I mean, anybody who lifts realizes, you go through stuff that's just like, I just went through this week because, like you just said, I took a bunch of time off. I took like 4 months off, basically, and then I come back, and it's like every once in a while, it's like I cannot squat at all. Like, I try to go down, and my hips just hurt so bad, I can't even hit parallel, and it's like when they're firing right, and I can feel like I can lift anything, like you find that perfect form, but then sometimes I go in there and it's like 135 is too heavy, like it's like, it hurts, like I don't even know why. I have no idea. I have to just stop and well, it's all in the programming, people try to tell me, oh, you just had a bad day. I don't believe in just having a bad day. I've learned that programming, it's worth the detail of when I worked at the University of Washington, I was fortunate to work under Coach Don James, who led us to a national championship while we were there. And I got to go sit in the staff meetings, and I watched his attention to detail, and it blew me away. I got a really cool story to tell you, okay? This is his attention to detail. All right, we're in a staff meeting the Monday after a game, and Coach James, we had a home game on Saturday. Coach James in the staff meeting says, I went and got on the bus, and my reading light didn't work. I'm thinking, big deal, your reading light didn't work. You're like, why are you telling me that, huh?
Yeah. He goes, and our football ops director says, oh, Coach, I'll look into that. And he goes, you're going to look into it. You're going to fire that bus company. If my light's not going to work, how do I know that bus is going to run? And we're not going to, and we could go and miss a game. He goes, I'm not going to go and take that chance. You find me another bus company that's going to make sure that they have everything taken care of on that bus.
Wow.
And the message wasn't to the bus company. The message was to every coach that was in that room to say, hey, you better not assume anything. You better take care of every little detail, because His philosophy was, I'm going to beat you because my team's going to make fewer mistakes than your team. And you get around somebody like that and they lead you to a national championship, and that's a pretty big deal,
Yeah.
You learn to go, wait a minute, that I need to do that in my life. I need to have that same attention to detail if I want to be successful, because I found that preparation is the key. It's not talent. I'm not talented, but the attention to detail is the key to success. And you can overcome talent by understanding different methods to train and set up your training program. It's amazing what you can do. It's amazing. Now, I know what's going to happen. Everybody's going to say, hey, can you write me up a workout? No. All right? The strength coach from the Soviet Union that taught us how to write up these workouts, he sat down and told us, he says, for me to write up a 4-week routine, it's going to take me 40 hours to write up a 4-week routine. I turned to the guy next to me. I said, man, what's he do the other 38 hours? 3 days later, after the seminar had come to an end, I'm like, this is impossible. There's no way you can write up a 4-week routine in just 40 hours. That's the attention to detail is unbelievable. And when you get it right, it's amazing. But you can't sit there and just go and say, people want me to go write up the workout. You can't pay me enough to write you up your workouts, okay? It's just too much work for me. I can't do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
We talk about this actually a lot on here. What do you think would happen if these athletes, like the NFL football players, got into powerlifting?
Oh, well, to be honest with you, a lot of them probably, they're not built to be powerlifters. Most of them could probably deadlift really, really well. But most of them, their arms are way, way, way too long to bench press. They're not built to bench press at all. And so I think a lot of college football players could be fun. I know they could. I mean, there's guys, we had a guy at the University of Washington, he could squat in the mid sixes without even warming up. It was just a joke to him, Wow. But he also ran a 4.340 weighing 255, so, he was just a freak, But yeah, there's guys, I think there's guys out there that could do some phenomenal things. But most of your particularly your linemen and offensive, defensive linemen, they're not built to put up the really big weights,
So you're 60. So you must. Are you pretty familiar then with Paul Anderson?
You know what? Paul Anderson's daughter went to school at Liberty when I was there, and she married one of the football players. And he actually came up to Liberty to visit to see his daughter, and I was gone and missed him by 2 hours. I know it. Oh. But yeah, Paula, his daughter Paula, and I, we stay in contact with each other, and she's a wonderful lady.
Did any of his training methods or anything about him influence you? Because he was known as a minister, right? That was his real thing.
Yeah, I did when I first got into lifting weights. My aunt got me a book by Paul Anderson. And so, I did try to study and figure out what he was doing to try to figure out how he got strong, But I would have loved to have met him. Paul Wren, do you remember Paul Wren? Paul Wren was the 1981 IPF super heavyweight champion back with Kazmar and all those guys were lifting. He won the IPF World Championships. I worked out with him 2 weeks after he had won the World Championships in India, and he was amazing. And he's a minister also, and had a huge influence on my life.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Me and Pete talk about it, almost every day, just because it's what really matters in life.
Yeah.
I mean, lifting weights is awesome and everything, but it almost builds. I feel like it's almost more of a connecting point to interact with people than anything.
Yeah. If you know what, I read a chapter of Proverbs every single day. just because one of the most successful businessmen that I've ever met said that he read a chapter of Proverbs every day just for the wisdom. And I'm not the brightest guy in the world, and so I can use whatever kind of knowledge I can get. And so by reading in the Word, I've come to realize that by living a Christian life, I'm able to be more successful just because of the principles of living a Christian life. Not that I know God's got bigger things to worry about than my bench press, but living the life that he wants me to live allows me to be more successful. I'm not distracted by things,
Yeah. What is your favorite verse, or what's?
Of course, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But Psalm 46:10. I was going to my first national championships in track and field in college in the shot put, and this girl comes up to me. And she says to me, she says, Bill, I got a verse for you. And I'm thinking, man, this girl ain't done nothing athletic in her life. And she says, it's Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God.
Wow.
Boy, I'll tell you what. People watch me lift and they'll say, Bill, come on, you got to get up for this. Man, I'm up for it. All right. I'm just not going to go bonkers wasting energy on something that doesn't matter. I'm going to go and use that energy for the lift. And so I've learned to be still and loud and be focused and not waste my energy on hooping and hollering and all that,
It's amazing actually that almost like gives me chills that you bring that up, because here he is.
I'm the worst. I'm sorry, guys.
Bro, you came at such a good moment, bro. It's so good. It's so good where we're at right now. It's so good.
We did the Monday, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know what day it is. I literally was like doing emails, and it just hit me. I'm like, oh, sorry about that.
I was like, that's way too much volume for Pete.
I made it.
We were just talking about. So I actually had that verse, that specific verse you're talking about. I was talking to this guy, and he told me how it changed his life. Actually, this prayer, he called it the silent prayer, and it was "Be still and know that I am God." And so he said what he did was he asked God a question, and he waited in silence for an answer. And he said God answered him. And so, this guy told me to do that. And I prayed this prayer, dude, every single day for 4 months. And nothing. I mean, it was just silent. Like, I was just like, God's like not listening. I don't know what's going on. I guess this didn't happen, right? 9 months later, I won't tell the whole story, but 9 months later, God just answers me like clear as day, bold, boom. And it was just like one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever experienced, because I was just like, oh my God, this is it was just like crazy,
I heard a story one time that somebody said, remember in school, there's no talking during the test. And so when you don't hear from God, just remember, you might be going through a test, and he's, there's just no talking during that time. But trust me, he's there, he's watching. And I know that I went through it when I left Liberty as a strength coach. I'm like, where are you, God? For 6 months, I'm like, where are you? There was nothing. And God's like, no, I need you to be still. I need you to be at peace. I need you to develop my relationship with me. And I had a very, very wise man call me. And I had just the most defeating news. And I hung up the phone, and he called that instant, just coincidentally. And he said, brother, he goes, I need you to do 3 things. I said, what's that? He goes, 1, I need you to develop your relationship with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I said, okay, that's good advice. Number 2, he said, I need you to develop your relationship with your wife during this time. All right, that's good advice. And he goes, number 3, I need you to get really, really strong and put up some big weights. I said, okay. And I held on to those 3 things. I held on to them. And I said, you know what? I'm going to hold on to those things. And whenever I got discouraged, I said, those are the 3 things I'm going to focus on. And God blessed it. Oh, my gosh. God has blessed it immensely in my life.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know, like, you're questioning things. Why are these difficult situations going on? And I know that's happened to me a lot of times. I've got plenty of examples in my head, but it's one of those things that becomes clear later on. Like even with my training, the past couple of years, there's been so many injuries and struggles, and I'm like, am I ever going to get back to where I was? Am I ever going to get there? And then Scott comes along with the idea for the podcast, and really ever since then, like talking to guys like you and learning things and becoming closer to God, like things are starting to come together, and you're starting to see it. So the plan becomes clearer, but you just have to stick it out through the hard times.
Yes, you do. And there's going to be hard times. I mean, there are going to be times when you're doing it just because it's the right thing to do, and you're going to just stick to it. And I mean, like we were talking earlier, people ask me if I ever had bad days. I'm like, dude, I've had bad decades, but you keep, that passion, that desire, you can't give up on it. You got to keep striving forward, because something's going to come loose, something's going to change, and you're going to figure something out. And then you're going to be ready for, what they say, success is when opportunity meets preparation, and that's what it's all about. You've got to be prepared. So when the opportunity opens up, man, you can make it happen.
So Bill, just to give you a little bit of what we talked about, Pete, he's worked with the Seahawks before. So he's worked with the NFL. He's a strength and conditioning coach for, football players. And one of the things that really made me want to talk to Bill, I mean, there's a lot. He's a West Side guy too, which is crazy. We haven't started in that, but he said he had a method where he would actually pray to God for what to do to change his program or change his workouts, because he's like, nothing is working. So he actually, like, that was his method, which I was like, that is like really cool, man. I've never heard anybody say that before about their training.
Yeah. You put me in a car for a long ride and training's going bad, there's going to be a lot of prayer going on and a lot of thought. And when I get back, we're going to do something different than we've ever done before.
Now, what was your last year at Liberty?
My last year was 2018 season. Yeah, Duncan.
You know a guy named Duncan Hundley?
I know Duncan extremely well. He talks extremely highly of you. And I love Duncan. He was going to go to the IPF Worlds, and they canceled it. They decided not to send the team. And so we were heartbroken. But, Duncan's amazing. I think he's a gift from God. He's amazing. This kid squatted in knee wraps raw in a contest in high school, 800 pounds. I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah, he benches like 5. He's beast.
Yeah.
I've known him for probably 3 years now, because I moved here, and he sometimes would come to the gym I used to train at. So he'd pop in when he was home on break or whatever, and nicest guy in the world. Yeah,
he loves you. And he talks so highly about you. So I've always wanted to meet you, and I'm like, golly, I finally get to meet you on video.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. When I saw that you'd been the strength coach at Liberty, I was like, that's unbelievable,
Yeah, he was one of my.
I know he went over there.
Yeah, he was one of my student assistants. I brought him in. I wanted to mentor him. We went to an IPA meet in Tennessee, near Knoxville. Back when he was in high school, we saw him squat the 800. The reason we went is we were going to go see Louis. And we called up Louis, and he says, no, I'm going to be at a meet in Tennessee. And I said to the guys, I said, hey, you guys want to go to a meet? I'll jump in the bench press. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. So we all went to the meet together. And then we'd heard about Duncan from online, and we made sure we met him, and we had time to spend some time together. And so he decided, hey, I want to go to Liberty. So we love him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea how that all transpired, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I texted him today, in fact.
Really?
Yeah.
You keep in contact with him?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I had a good bench workout today, so I'm like, I'll let you guys know. I play with numbers, man. I play with numbers. Everybody asks, okay, what's your raw bench? And so what I did today is I used the Wilks formula with age, or McCollum formula, same thing. And I got my first equivalence of a 700-pound raw bench. So, so I was pretty happy. Yeah. pretty surreal that, right on the money. But then I puked. And I did it easy, but I puked. I wanted to, and I'm sick as a dog. And I'm like, I know I could do about 10 more pounds, but I didn't get to try it. So.
And he's doing this. He's 60. And
I'm wondering, how's a guy as nice as you and with as good of values and morals, how did you train at Westside?
Well, I didn't train. No, I went up there. I just visited with Louis. But yeah,
Okay.
No, Louis loves us, man. My mentor, Dave Williams, he actually is the one who introduced bands to Louis, and and the weight releases. He's the one who brought those to the United States from the Russians. So, I was blessed to have this incredible man of knowledge to work with. And Louis loved him. And so he would go up there and they bring me up there with him. And so that's how I developed a relationship with Louis. Back in the 80s, early 90s, he was shunned by the college athletic community because he was coaching power lifters and they're all on drugs and la 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 la. And I'm like, wait a minute. This guy knows what he's talking about. I don't care what you say. This guy knows what he's talking about. And every month in Powerlifting USA, I'd open that thing up. I'm like, God, the only thing I couldn't wait for was I wanted to see that article by Louis, And I remember the very first one in 1986. I went to my mentor and I said, oh my gosh, this is the most incredible information I've ever seen in my life. And he goes, yeah, that's that coach I've been trying to tell you to listen to. And I'm like, well, that's stupid me. I should listen to you more often, But, Louis just been an amazing guy in my life. And what's so funny is it wasn't until Westside versus the World came out that my son realized why I coached the way I did. He goes, you coach like Louis, except for without the profanity. I said, I know. He says, you made everybody miserable when they came in the weight room. He says, you were up in everybody's face. He says, nothing was ever good enough for you. And I'm like, hey, I had to create a culture. I had to create an environment. And, we had like 83 kids one season, clean 300 or more. And everybody's like, isn't that really good? No, because there's about 7 who can't do it, and I'm like going ballistic over the 7, But, it was just, I never, ever was satisfied, ever, with, with a year. But that's probably what kept raising the bar to help the program elevate to become, where they could go FBS,
Didn't they beat like Virginia Tech or something?
We beat Baylor. We've beaten some pretty good football teams. Yeah.
I want to say something happened last year. They played somebody. I don't know.
They beat Buffalo. They beat Buffalo in the bowl game. So
they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, they're doing well.
Okay, so you got to tell me. You've been in the industry for a million years, and like you have all this life experience. What is the number one thing you could tell me as far as like getting to the top, becoming the best that I can be? What would be your number one piece of advice?
As far as get like coaching in the NFL?
No, just like as a power lifter, like becoming as strong as I possibly can. Would you say? I mean, it could be anything from like turn to God at anything like that. It could be do this. What do you think is the most important thing?
I think staying hungry, staying passionate, and I think that passion comes from my relationship with Christ. It's not. It's too hard to muster it up on my own.
Yes.
So it has to come from something deeper than just me. I'm a very, very competitive person. I'm a very hardworking, but I'm also a pretty nice guy. Brandon Lilly and I worked together, and he came out to do a podcast with me, and he watched me work out, and he goes, "This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen." I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "You guys are all nice guys." I says, "Well, what's wrong with that?" He goes, "No power lifters are nice. We're all wanting to rip each other's heads off. We're hoping for the other guy's arm to fall off." And he goes, "You guys are encouraging each other, hoping each other does great." And I'm like, "Yeah." I says, "I hope he does phenomenal, but I hope I do just a little better." I says, that's how one of my philosophy is I'm going to compete with my training partners, then I'm going to go out and compete against my opponents, you know, and there's a world of difference. Yeah. I'm going to make sure if I go and try to raise my game and use my training partners to belittle them and they become less of a man and less effective, then I really failed, because I'm not going to be able to achieve true greatness. All right? True greatness is going to come when I learn how to teach them how to achieve true greatness. And then I'm going to have a better understanding. It's like teaching anything. The more you can teach something, the better you understand it yourself. The same thing is in this feeding into other people. You know, it's hard because there are those greedy individuals who sit there and just all they want is for you to give. And you're like, hey, you know, I got to work out too, you know. But I found that when, especially when I get exhausted or tired, I take the attention off myself and I put it on my training partners and I start encouraging them. And it gives me more passion, gives me more energy, because I'm not thinking about myself as much. And it helps me. So,
you know, that makes sense, because that's something like I've talked about with Scott, where it's like I used to train so aggressive and angry and all this stuff, and like honestly, it made me miserable after a while. And just recently, I think because I've grown closer to Christ again, I'm training like calm and happy, and I'm not listening to profanity, and I'm just like really, really chill in the gym, and things are going so much better. I'm enjoying it so much more, and it's funny you say that, because that's exactly what I've noticed. It's just
here's the truth is, and I read this book, and Bert Soren gave it to me, and I wish I could remember it, what it was about. But you know, the book said that the church is too full of nice guys. Okay, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being a nice guy. You know, we don't need pushovers, all right? It's like raising one of the stories was like raising a son, and it's like having a wild stallion. Okay, if you had to go to war and you had to choose what kind of horse you're going to want, you're going to want a stallion. Okay, because that stallion's going to do things that any other horse couldn't do. All right, but when you take that stallion, he's got a heart and will of his own, and there's going to be some baggage that comes with it, you know? And that's kind of like us, you know? With raising a boy, you know? There's going to be some baggage, but you don't want to go and crush that spirit. You want to cultivate it so that it becomes a grown stallion. And what we need men who want to be courageous, who want to do something incredible that nobody else can say, hey, that's not supposed to be able to happen. And you're like, I don't care what's supposed to happen. I have no limitations. And that's really important. If you start putting everything on yourself and what you think you can do, then you're going to limit yourself, because you become a prisoner of your own thoughts and process. When you go and live in Christ, you have freedom. Okay? You have freedom in Christ. And in that freedom doesn't mean all of a sudden I'm bound by my human abilities. I'm free to become whoever I dreamed and want to be. And when you got the creator of the world living inside of you and wants to live through you, man, let it go, man. Let it happen. You know, see what can happen. And it's amazing. Is it going to be easy? Is he going to hand stuff over to you? Heck no. It only took me 50 years to develop a 1,000-pound bench press, you know? And my wife was just like, wow, why couldn't you have been like a real estate guy and make millions? But it's not what God called me to do. He called me to bench press. And I'm like, I want to be an NFL football player, you know? But I got a funny story for you guys. You asked me earlier about how strong NFL football players could be if they went into powerlifting. I was with the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm weighing about 330 pounds, and I benched 800 pounds at that time. And our nose guard is in a wheelchair. I mean, there is no way he's playing that Sunday, okay? And so Sean Alexander, you guys remember Sean Alexander?
Oh, yeah.
Sean Alexander and his best friend, Heath Evans, they're both great Christian guys. They come up to me and they said, Coach, we need you to play this Sunday. I'm like, knock it off. This isn't funny. Why are you making fun of me? They said, no, Coach, we're serious. I'm like, God, you got to be kidding me. I says, I'm in no shape to play. I'm 42 years old. And Jerry Rice was on the team at that time. And they're like, well, Jerry's 41. You're just a year older than him. I'm like, are you guys crazy? They said, man, I said, how many plays would I have to play? And they said 3 or 4. And I go, in a row? So anyway, they said they were going to go talk to Coach Holmgren and ask him, to see if I could play that Sunday. Well, he didn't ask me to play. So either you got to bench more than 800 or the bench press isn't what's going to make you an NFL football player,
That makes sense. I can't believe you were that closely aligned with like Sean Alexander and stuff, because he was the guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was the guy with LT.
I'll tell you a really cool story about Sean. Sean never lifted weights, ever. Okay? Alabama, I don't even know if he knew where the weight room was at Alabama. His teammates actually said that. And my first year there, he watched what I did, and I took him out, and we did some running, and I started to do form running with him. And Sean looked at me and goes, Coach, when they say set hut, I'm going to run the same way I've been running for 20-some years. He says, I'm not going to change the way I run, so don't waste my time trying to teach me a new running form. I'm like, wow, I really appreciated that because I thought it was a waste of time anyway. He goes, teach me how to create more horsepower. All right, so then I started to realize this cat, even though he doesn't lift, he knows some things that we assume he doesn't know, okay? But he does know. So he came to me after watching me train the different players, and he says to me, my first year I worked under Kent Johnson, who left to go to the University of Alabama, and they brought in another strength coach. Well, the new strength coach says, hey, we're not going to train individuals anymore. They're only going to be the team workout. You cannot do individual workouts, because they used to pay us you after the workouts, and you take individual guys, and they give you their workout checks, $400 a week that you made extra coaching the guys individually. So you get 3 or 4 guys, you're making a lot of extra money just taking a smaller group through the workout. But Sean comes up to me and he says, Coach, I really believe in what you're saying, and I've never lifted weights in my life. And he says, I'll pay you $10,000 to be my personal strength coach. Wow. And I said, Sean, I said, I would love to. I said, but the new guy, he says, I can't do it. And I says, and I won't undermine him. And I says, he goes, well, I'll go talk to Coach Holmgren and I'll get that correct. I said, just hold on, Sean. I'll take care of you. Well, they ended up that year, I ended up getting to take Sean through almost all his workouts, and he ended up setting the NFL record that year for touchdowns. And then the next year was MVP, and then he quit lifting, and that was it.
Wow.
Quit lifting?
Yeah, but you know what? He never lifted very heavy. We did cleans one time. This is so. I mean, this cat is so gifted. All right, at that level, I started to find out that there are guys that are so talented that they can recognize things with their body that we can't. Normal people can't. Okay, and Sean was one of them. And I got Sean up to doing 3 reps on the clean one day with 188 pounds. And he did it easily. And I said, Sean, you want to go up more? And he goes, oh, no, that's enough. That was the heaviest clean he ever did. All right? And then he went from being good to great just off of that little bit of lifting. I mean, he didn't lift very hard at all. Yeah, I know. Dude, I tell you something. The NFL guys, people sit there and eat because they're big and strong or whatever, and they belong in the NFL. And I'm telling you, the NFL guys are freaks of athletes. They're phenomenal. Went bowling with the guys, and my teammate was our punter. And that sucker's bowling strikes from between his legs and from behind his back. I'm thinking I'm getting punked, man. I'm like, there's no way any human being can bowl strikes from between their legs or behind their back. But those cats can, And I'm like, this is crazy. But it was eye-opening to be around those kind of athletes that they're not just good at football. They're amazing athletes. They can do things that a lot of us never even dreamed were possible.
So who's the freakiest athlete you've coached or been around, like strongest?
Oh man, I'll tell you, there are some guys. I have a huge list of guys that just have done some amazing things. But none of them we really ever tapped into how strong they could possibly be. There was a kid at Liberty. He squatted 700 and deadlifted 700 as a junior in high school, raw. And when he came to Liberty, they let him squat the record with 805. And every year he could only do 10 pounds more. So he finished his career at Liberty with an 835-pound squat, and it was a joke to him. But he also was documented, and was he saw a car accident in D.C. He was a truck driver after he finished college. The lady was trapped in the car. He was afraid the car was going to catch on fire. He runs up to the car, tears the car door off the car, and saves the woman's life. I mean, this is not some story. This was documented in the newspaper. People watched it, saw him do that, But he was just a freak of nature, but just never, ever developed and did anything with it.
Man, some guys like burn out. Like I've seen a lot of guys get pretty strong, and then they just fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Football takes a lot of a toll on the guys. Their bodies are really, really beat up, and so they get really tired of it. And most of them lift only because it's going to help them play football. They don't lift because they love it. They do it because they have to be a better football player. So if they become too passionate about lifting, they can lift themselves right out of football. And so that's a concept that a lot of people don't understand, that if you lift incorrectly, you can actually tighten up your hips to the point where you can't move. And you look great, you look strong as a rock, but you can only move straight ahead. You can't move very fluently.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What about like pro athlete? Who's the craziest, strongest pro athlete you've seen?
Steve Hutchinson was all pro guard for Seattle, and he was also with the Vikings for several years. He'd walk in and warm up and say, "Hey, coach, spot me. I'm going to do 405 as many times as I can." And he'd have 4, 6, 7, 8 reps, with 405. Just hardly any warm ups at all. But he was really strong.
I remember him.
Yeah.
I forgot about him, but I remember him.
Yeah, he's a great fisherman, too. I took him steelhead fishing, and amazing fisherman. Amazing. Gifted with the rod, man. He had a fish hooked by a membrane in the mouth, barely had it hooked, landed that fish. I was really, really impressed at his fishing ability. Oh.
Yeah, I remember Chael watched a video of Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews was hitting mitts or tie pads, and Chael said that if Clay Matthews did MMA, like nobody would be able to beat him. Like, he could beat probably anybody.
I'll tell you a guy I coached, Bob Sapp, the Beast.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah, Bob got in 2 fights on the football field in college. Okay, reaches up, grabs his own face mask, rips his face mask off the helmet, and goes, "You want to fight?" And everybody's like, "No, dude, it's cool, Bob."
Wow.
Bob was probably the strongest football player I ever coached. He'd go big, get a big lift, and start getting high fives, and like, crap, he's going to separate someone's shoulder with his high fives. I mean, he was just brutally strong. I mean, he was so strong that they put an offensive guard next to him because he played offensive tackle, and they would tell him out loud what to do on the field because the opponent couldn't do anything about it. Bob would just grab him and go, "There you are. Wow. Go ahead and do whatever you want to do." They didn't, because Bob couldn't remember his play. So, but
I remember he fought Nogueira, who was the heavyweight champion in Pride, And this guy's a heavyweight champion, and Nogueira did the only power bomb I've ever seen in MMA. I mean, he grabbed him around the waist and like a pro wrestling move, you know, picked him up above his head and power bombed him. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna kill him. It looked like.
Yeah.
Rampage did that too once.
Oh yeah, Rampage too. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob.
Awesome.
Bob came in as a freshman from Colorado. You know, he's Warren Sapp's actually his cousin. You know that?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, we played the University of Miami when Warren Sapp was there, and they got together. They had actually never met before, and they got to meet, and then we kicked their butt.
Unreal. So you've been around a lot of big name people over the years.
Yeah, I've been blessed. I've been around some great athletes, some great people, and great coaches.
Do you think your purpose in life is like to spread the word through all your coaching and all your opportunities that you've had?
Pete, that's a really good question because, you know, for a long time, I left the NFL to go back to Liberty for the sole purpose of the founder asked me to come back and help him develop a world-class football program. And he said this, he said, Bill, he says, if we develop a championship football program, I'm going to have more students come to Liberty. I'm going to have higher academic standards at Liberty if we have a great football team. And he says, and I know that's true. He says, but we can't get a great football team until we get great football players, and they're not going to come here right away. So we have to develop them. And he says, so I'm going to ask you to walk away from the NFL, and I want you to come back to Liberty and help us develop football players so we can have a world-class football program here at Liberty. And so I walked away from the NFL. I was at Washington. I was the head strength coach there for 3 years, and I was Pac-10 Strength Coach of the Year. I was finalist for National Strength Coach of the Year. Went to the Seahawks. Man, you know, my career was ready to go, and instead I walked away and went to Liberty and gave them my best prime earning years. And then this last year, when they got to be fully into FBS and go to a bowl game, I got released when the new coach came in and he fired everybody. And it was heartbreaking. But you know what? I was heartbroken because I thought maybe I didn't get to go to the promised land with the football team. But what happened was my 40 years investment into the Liberty football program turned out God was working in my life, and he has a promised land in my life. And he has something incredible for me. And I never even thought about it. And then all of a sudden, here I am. Now my bench is going crazy. And I'm like, you know, what's going on? This doesn't make no sense, you know. But, you know, now I have time to train. I have time to recover. I have time to do the whole workout. I have time to mentally prepare. I have time to fix myself. I have time to eat. And I don't have all the stress of trying to coach and make a zillion people happy. And all of a sudden, all that energy starts to go into your own training, and also, bam, it just goes crazy. So a lot of things that are happening are quite explainable, you know, if you understand the energy and the stresses of what it was like to coach at that level. I was working like 70 hours a week. Between Father's Day and the end of football season, I'd average 1 day off a year. I mean, Saturday, Sunday, all summer, all football season, no time off ever. But that's the commitment it took to help get that football team to be where it needed to be. Now, you know, I'm not bitter. I get to go do something incredible in my life. And I was thrilled when you guys offered me the opportunity to share my faith, and because it goes hand in hand in what I do, because I what I do to lift is part of who I am as a man and what God's called me to do. And I love to share what Christ is doing in my life. So, yeah, I do a lot of these podcasts, and I get a lot of opportunities to share what Christ is doing in my life. And you never know, who knows where it's going to lead. I just keep working hard and keep sharing, and we'll see what happens, you know?
Yeah, it's tough, too, because I'll be honest, like most of the power lifters or people within the industry that we interview are pretty atheist, you know? They don't atheistic. They don't have those share the same beliefs. So it's like it's really opened my eyes, because I never realized how bad it was in the industry and in powerlifting. And Scott said it before too. He's like, I think you're destined to do great things and spread the word through your platform. And I think that's the case. Like, it's we got to get the word out, because it's not. There's a lot of people out there who aren't there. And I think having people with merit and things who have done great things, it's more likely to influence others.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm not going to go and tell people that if you become a Christian, you're going to bench 1,000 pounds or you're going to be a success. That's not true. But the representation of the journey that I've been on. All right, you can have that same journey that I've been on. Is it going to be easy? Oh, heck no. It's going to be hard as can be. Is there going to be bad days? Yeah. Are you going to get depressed? Yes. But the thing is that you're going to grow from it. It's like every time you lift, there's some things. I had a test done on my brainwaves and my ability to focus. And the guy's like, this is crazy. You can focus like nobody we've ever seen before. He said, this is the best we've ever seen. And I go, okay, I'm sitting in a room by myself with these probes on my head. I'm like, so? And he goes, you lift heavy weights, don't you? And I said, yeah. And he goes, every day, right? He goes, all right. He says, what you need to know is, besides you just getting stronger, there are other byproducts that are occurring in your life. And one of them is your ability to focus. You've developed your mind to a point that you're not like everybody else, okay? You can think and focus at a higher level than most other people can. And he says, how does caffeine affect you? And I'm like, oh, gosh. Man, it's horrible. 12 hours. He goes, yeah, no. It's not the caffeine. He says, what happens is the caffeine takes your arousal level too high, and you can't come back down from it because of your ability to focus. You don't need very much caffeine if you're going to take it. And because over time, what most lifters do, they take a little bit of caffeine pre-workout. Oh, I'm really tired. I got a big workout. I got to take a little more. Get something stronger. But what you really are doing is, as you get stronger, you're developing your mind. You actually need less because your mind is getting stronger just as your body is. And you have to trust in that.
Yeah, really the whole genesis of the podcast completely came down to, I was talking to Julius Maddox, and he was talking about wanting to do something. And I immediately just reached out to Pete. I was like, man, what should we do? I don't know what to do. Like, he wants to create content. And so we decided to, it wasn't really like, oh, this is what we're going to do, but we decided to do a podcast. And when we were talking to Julius, he was all about, God. And exactly what you're saying, though, like, I know this is true of you, too. Julius, he doesn't use like drugs really. He said that he benched 705 with low testosterone, and then he went to the doctors and he did get on TRT, so from the doctor, but he's never done like cycles and stuff or whatever. He just does testosterone replacement to make normal levels, and he's freaking head and shoulders beyond anybody ever in the bench press raw.
Yeah. See, for me, I wanted to lift big weights, but the fact of knowing the knowledge of how to get strong was what the most valuable was to me, because I was a strength coach and I had 100 plus guys. I had to make stronger. I couldn't just will it in them. I had to have facts. I had to have something unusual, something different. And so, I made myself the guinea pig. I suffered. I'm the one who went without, and it paid off. It's taken me a lot longer to get to where I wanted to be, but it's been beneficial for me.
So what's the key to the longevity besides just being like passionate about it? Is it as simple as that?
No, I'll tell you. It's leaving something in the tank after every set. Don't. I get on Duncan all the time about this. I'm like, Duncan, just because he's so passionate, and he knows that when he sees us, he's going to know. He knows as soon as I brought this game up, he's like, Coach Bill's going to say something to me about this. I told him forever, don't go and do a big single. Wait. The longer you wait, the bigger the single. Just wait on it.
I like it.
You know, and he was supposed to do 485. He does 485 so easy. He's like, Coach, I had to do it. I'm like, well, it's over now. And he goes, what do you mean it's over? I says, the whole process is over. And he goes, well, no, Coach, no, I'm doing great. I'm like, it's over. That was it. And we got to start all over again to rebuild that whole process. And so be patient, wait for it. And Dave Tate came and watched me lift at the University of Washington. He does seminar out there, and he told me, he's like, dude, you're not that strong. I said, I don't have to be strong. All I got to do is lift more than you, and you think I am. And the key is when it's time to go to compete, lift more than everybody else does. That's it. I don't have to be strong. I just have to lift more than you do on the day of the meet. You come work out with me, chances are you kick my butt. But you know what? I can live with it, because also when it comes time to compete, I get these guys who compete with me, and they're like, I was with Coach on blah, 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 the ram, the slingshot, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? My competition bench is about 500 pounds more than yours. So I don't want to hear it. But all I care about is that day of competition. And so what I do is, this could be a little bit, okay, guys? I train for two different ways, okay? I train, one, for a period of time to develop strength potential. And then when I get closer to the meet, like 3-4 weeks out, I start training to exhibit maximum strength, okay? Basically, what I do is I make the lifts harder than they need to be while I'm doing it, okay? I may train, my training max was almost identical to what I did for a set of 6 today, okay? But I made that training max, I did the weights harder than they needed to be, okay? I did them super strict. I brought the bar down slower. All this kind of stuff so that I could develop my strength potential. When it's time to then exhibit your strength, then you're going to go and start doing training methods that allows you to exhibit your strength. My son and I, we've been the world's strongest father-son on the bench press for a long time. I lost track, sometime in the 90s. But he's constantly trying to share with me training methods. And I said, well, does that going to help you exhibit maximum strength, or is that going to help develop maximum strength? He goes, well, I can bench a lot more weight. I'm like, yes, you will, for about 3 weeks, and then you're going to run to a block, and you're not going to get any better. And you have to develop the strength potential to be able to exhibit maximum strength later on. And so that's one of the keys I found I always was working to develop potential all my life. I kept going, well, sooner or later, I'm going to go and do something incredible, great. I'm going to build a great base. But then I started to find out, well, all this base building stuff kind of made me really strong. I'm doing pretty good with it,
Every time we do these, man, it just reaffirms exactly. I'm like hearing him talk, and I'm like, this is exactly what Pete's been doing for some time.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, holy cow. It's just, it feels good to hear that, because that's exactly what I've been doing. I've got this whole thing. I'm like, my new thing, it just came to me. I'm like, the 52-week mindset. I'm like, we're going to train the whole year, 52 weeks up to for one day. And I'm like, that's what it's all about. Like, don't look at the short term. Don't look at 15 weeks from now. Think of 52 weeks from now. Where do you want to be? And chip away at that one day at a time. So it's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, we're going to hold off. We're going to just develop the strength and keep going slowly and be patient and not get ahead of ourselves. And we're training for that day 52 weeks from now.
Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it is hard. That's the secret, man. I mean, seriously, that's the secret. If you can go up, think about it. if you could go up 5 pounds on your bench press every 2 weeks, would you take it? You take that, wouldn't you? Yeah. In a heart?
I think myself included over the last few years and too many others, we get lost in like the Instagram mindset of like, what is that guy doing? What is that guy doing? And then you want to like get there and you want to rush the process only to hurt yourself. Because it's like you told Duncan, if you just hold off on that max as long as you can, the max will keep going up. But if you play that card ahead of time, you're not going to get to your true potential.
It's interesting too, because like I can't lie. I was super happy to see you squatting 500 pounds. I was like, yeah, we're hitting 500 now. You know, like it's like it is. You do want to see it though. You want to see it. Like I mean, it looked really light. It looked really light for you, but to know that he's got 500 on the bar, it's more. It draws you a little bit more, and so I see where that comes from.
Before the Super Bowl, I went into the gym and I was supposed to do 940 for 2, and I went, guys, I feel really good. Don't stop me. Don't grab the bar. I'm going to do more. Well, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I know I could do this for 4. Well, it turned out I probably could have done it for 6.
Wow.
So I cranked out 4 reps. I mean, and I haven't put this out in public at all. In fact, you guys are probably the first one publicly to hear this. And I was like, yeah, I feel great. Yeah, well, it's taken me until this time to where I'm fine. I might be coming back to that point. That was February, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you have to start over.
Yeah, I got to start all over. And when part of the starting over is you got to come into it fresh. I mean, not just start all over again. You got to go through where you're fresh coming into it and being smart enough not to annihilate yourself, to do something stupid. You know, I put out there, I did a 802 bench for 10 reps on my Facebook. Jeez. And that was the stupidest thing I could have done, man. But I just always wanted to do 800 for 10. I just thought it'd be really cool. But that didn't make me stronger. That was one of those stupid things that that I've had to learn to not do, to be patient, because I won the workout, yay! But that was stupid because that doesn't mean nothing. The only thing that matters is what's posted in open powerlifting. That's all.
Yep.
Wow. That's the only thing that
matters.
You got it. You know?
Man, that's great news to hear though, because that's the journey I'm on. So
yeah,
I'll be deadlifting. Yeah, deadlifts today where it was like 3 sets of 5 at 540, and like I'm smoking these like a joke, and I'm just like, oh man, I've done 871 in a meet, and I'm just it's nothing, but I'm like, I gotta stay the course. I just gotta make it look good and move it as fast as I can.
Yeah. Be patient, be patient with it. And, during that phase, you could get to do a lot of different exercises that you normally wouldn't be able to do if you're up there at the 800 pound, 871 range, because you can't go and take that chance of doing too much assistant lifts because it's going to take away from your big lift, So now's the time to go and do some of those extra things,
Yeah, experiment around, and everything's clicking. The plan has been working, so I just got to stay on the grind and keep going. But
yeah. How old are you?
28.
So you're coming in your prime. I'm gonna tell you
that's what everybody says.
Yeah, on the bench press, I can tell you that between about 38 is going to be your prime. You got 10 years on the bench press for sure, and I know that's true. It was true in my. That's when I did 50 pull-ups in a row, weighing 283. I did 6 dips with 8 45-pound plates. And when I was 38, I was plus I was training with Bob Sapp, so it was like every week was pretty darn serious. It was no joke when he came in to work out. You knew you were in for a major competition. So, but a lot of people don't know that. I thought I would, when I was 38, I thought I was doing something extraordinary because I was 38, doing really well. Well, now I find out, that wasn't so extraordinary, and that's why I feel like 60. I'm like, maybe I'm not doing something so extraordinary. Maybe this is more of what the norm should be, just for a guy that stayed drug free all his life and kept doing it, never stopped. You know, I've never had an injury. I never had a major injury in my bench press ever. So just keep going, you know.
What do you attribute that to?
God's grace, partly, but partly, people have told me that my technique really helps. I work both external and internal rotation, I guess, when I bench press, so I don't develop an imbalance in my back. But I do a lot of external rotation work. I do a lot of back work. I'm a big believer in pull-ups for the bench press. If I could still do them, in fact, that's why my bench took a 10-year deficit, was because I couldn't do pull-ups. I quit when I turned 50. I couldn't do pull-ups anymore. I can't get my right arm over my head. When I quit doing pull-ups, my bench dropped. So I got when I left Liberty, I had this rear delt machine from Hammer Strength, and a new strength coach asked me, he says, "Is there anything you'd like to bring home with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to bring a rear delt machine."
Was it this one where you go like this?
Yeah,
you sit against the pad, and you just and you can go neutral grip, or you can go this way.
There's no grip to it. All right,
I love that.
Yeah. Well, what I found, what I did with it forever was I do sets of 6s, like I did my pull-ups. But then when I got it here, I started to do sets of 20s or more.
Okay.
And because I remembered, I met with the former East German strength coach, came to the University of Washington, and he wanted some of my secrets. So I shared a bunch of my secrets, and he started to leave. I said, "Hey, time out. You got to share some with me." And he says, if you're lagging in a body part, he says, you need to do a single joint exercise, but you need to do it between 20 up to 60 repetitions. And so that's what when I do a single joint exercise, that's what I do now. I don't do anything lower than that, because it doesn't seem to transfer at all.
So you got to start doing that for your neck, Pete.
Yeah, I got to build the neck up, traps a little bit. No, it's funny though. You mentioned pull-ups being like a huge thing for bench. I'm like, what did I just start doing a couple weeks ago and hitting hard pull-ups?
Yeah.
We're in the same wavelength here. Something's going on.
Yeah, you started them about the same. Well, no, I didn't even start pull-ups till I was like 35, and that's when my bench started taking off.
That's fascinating.
The boss with the University of Washington, he was really good at pull-ups, and he did pull-ups all the time, you know. And I just kept going, yeah. Well, yeah, whatever. And then finally I went, okay, all these guys here at Washington are good bench pressers. I mean, they could bench a lot of weight. And I says, I'm going to give it a try. So I started doing the pull-ups, and then my bench just automatically took off. But I found there's a little trick to doing the pull-ups. I use an overhand grip. I use about the shoulder width grip, a little bit wider than shoulder width. And when you pull yourself up, you've got to rotate. I'm going to try to get in here. You got to rotate your elbow in so that you're pulling with the elbows in to the side, similar to what you're actually going to do bench pressing. All right? You can't do it with the elbows out. Elbows pulling in on the way up. And it's kind of like your body kind of goes through a semicircle to the bar, not straight up, because of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure that out, but when I started doing my pull-ups that way, I got the best results from it.
Well, listen to this. Ever since I've been doing pull-ups, and my deadlift is getting ridiculously fast off the floor. So the benefits are, and deadlift is my best lift, but I'm always looking for new ways to master it even further and like change things up and get better at it. So that's how you have to be.
Did you know that one of the top combine coaches,
that's the Husky. Good Lord.
But one of the top combine coaches said that pull-ups is the number one exercise for speed, because it helps you run faster and you can't do pull-ups if you're fat, and you can't run fast if you're fat.
That makes sense, actually. That makes
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Maybe I should. Hey, Macy. That's a husky just making a.
I know.
Howling noises.
I know. He knows a former Husky's online here.
So do you know Marty Gallagher?
I know of him, yeah.
I did a podcast with Marty, and he told me that live at a YMCA, like he said, this was the YMCA he worked out with. He used their weights, He saw Paul Anderson live rep. He said no knee wraps, no belt, nothing. And deep squats, he said he saw him do 900 for 5, like it was nothing, like easy. He said it was like boom, 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 just like 5 reps. And I'm just wondering, like, that's like one of the craziest things I've ever heard. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen, like in 60 years, like powerlifters, everything?
I've seen some crazy stuff. I'd have to really think hard about that. Guys that could do just some amazing things, but I don't know, man. That's.
I'm trying to think. I have a hard time. You've seen so many things. You're like, oh.
Yeah. You want to go and say.
I think the craziest thing I've ever seen, and we talked with him a couple weeks ago, Steve Johnson was against Rob Hall in the cage. Oh, just because they did 600-pound deadlift, alternating. One would go, the other would go back and forth till deadlift till you drop basically, and they got to 62 reps and like they were dying, and I just that was like wow. So.
I'll tell you one of the greatest things that I ever seen, and I know that when I first tell you this, you're going to go, but let me finish. I stood up and gave this guy a standing ovation. I was at Wobble World, and this gentleman, 165 pounds, deadlifted 275 pounds, and he was 94 years old.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so impressive.
That's unreal, man. That's unreal. When I was like 18, I got a job as a personal trainer at this gym, and that's what I wanted to do. And the owner, he got me training this guy who was like, he was this old judge, and he was probably, he might have been closer to 100, but he was like almost like 100 years old. And he couldn't, it was crazy, like how limited he was. Like, he was just trying to not die. You know what I mean? Like, I'd get on there and like we'd go on some row machine, and he'd do like 5 pounds for a couple half reps. And so to hear that is just unbelievable, because you really get limited as you get older, really bad.
Sure do. Yeah, that arthritis is a bear. Trust me.
Yeah. It's amazing how much it benefits people to strength train. When they have those issues.
Interesting question. Do you have any fear when you're lifting these ridiculous weights over your face on bench? Like, is there any part of you that's like, I'm kind of scared, but I'm going to do this? Or what goes through your mind? Like, are you just, there's no fear, or is it something you're consciously like, man?
There's definitely fear. All right, but what I got to do is I got to channel it. All right, it's the fight or flight. Yeah, it's the fight or flight. Either it's going to hurt me or it's going to hinder me. So I got to go and embrace that fear and use it to my advantage, because I know that it's either they're going to hurt me or help me.
So you become more focused.
Yeah, I embrace it. I'm like, okay, hey, I'm ready. I'm okay. I'm not worried about it.
I was wondering about that
because my wife asked.
Yeah, I do something simple.
She says, "Could you ever get hurt doing this?" I'm like, yeah, I sure could, But I'll tell you. Have you guys seen my thing on Knox Gelatin? Obviously I'm not sponsored by Knox Gelatin by any means, but I'm gonna tell you, my elbows got so bad that I couldn't bench 88 pounds for 4 reps. They were so bad, and I coached this guy. He was going to go to the IPF World, and he's a pharmacist in North Carolina, Bob Granco. And Bob calls me and asks me for some training advice. And I said, he goes, well, Bill, how's your training going? I said, man, it's going horrible, man. I can't even bench 100 pounds right now. My elbows hurt so bad. He says, I've had some success with some clients by taking Knox Gelatin
gonna look this up.
and krill oil. And he says, do it twice a day and see if that doesn't help. Well, I ran down, I got it. 3 days later, my elbows feels good. I feel great. And I'm thinking, wow, that's coincidental, because I had taken liquid Aleve and mixed it with DMSO. I mean, I was doing everything I could to try to get my elbows to where I could bench again. I thought it was over. And so I had this for about 3 weeks. I ran out of my Knox gelatin. 3 days later, couldn't bench again. And I went right back on it. But what we found now is this, through research, is that, I should sell it. Knox gelatin should give me some kind of kickback. I'm telling you. But what we found was that it not only put more fluid in the joints. I've had several friends who had surgery scheduled on their knees, took the Knox gelatin, called the doctor and said, forget the surgery, I'm not having surgery. Wow. Okay? These are like non-athletes, normal people. It's just like, hey, wow, this is incredible. Then we found out that if you had an injury, a soft tissue injury, that you would recover faster by taking the Knox gelatin. Well, then all of a sudden I went, wait a minute. If it's helping me recover from soft tissue injuries, wouldn't it make sense that it's helping me recover from my workouts? Makes too much sense, right? Well, the research comes out and says just that it will help you recover from workouts, which then proves for it to be anabolic.
Does it have to be the brand Knox? I noticed there's some other gelatins on here.
No.
I prefer pills.
No, do you? Yeah, I use the Knox gelatin. I was using the Walmart generic brand, but after I went and promoted it so much, I can't find it in Lynchburg anymore. It's always sold out. But what I just order mine through Amazon.
Do you know the dose of it?
I use a heaping teaspoon, just a heaping teaspoon twice a day.
I wonder how many milligrams that is, because the pill says 560 milligrams. I'll take it.
Yeah. I'll tell you something. It's been a game changer for me. My joints are bad. It comes from my mom's side of the family. We have arthritis really bad, but I'm able to do what I'm doing, and because I can keep my joints feeling pretty good because of Knox gelatin.
What about the krill oil? What does that do?
I have no idea. I just know that's what I'm supposed to take with it.
All right, I'll look into it.
One of the guys that I coach works out with me. He's a nurse, and he looks all this stuff up. And he told me, he goes, "Yeah, coach, I'm blah 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 validation of why." But I'm like, okay, whatever. I just know it works.
So the krill oil helps the gelatin.
Yeah. You got to take the two together.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that other stuff you were talking about earlier, Bill? The
Swish 30.
Is that what? There's a different word though. You said Swish 30.
Oh, glutathione.
Yeah, glutathione.
That's the main ingredient. That's the main ingredient in it.
Glutathione you take too?
Yeah, through Swish 30.
At NAC, N-acetylcysteine becomes glutathione, or
yes,
I believe something like that.
Yeah, it has both in there. In Swish 30.
Okay, glutathione is for liver support, and it's, I believe it's the antioxidant. So
yes, it's the mother of all antioxidants.
Yep.
It's amazing, and then on top of that, it helps you focus. Now, we're not supposed to make all these medical claims because we don't have it's not FDA approved, but we do know that it's supposed to help concussions too. And what happened to me is I had 225 pounds land on top of my head, and I had a concussion and had to go coach the team the next day. I couldn't hardly yell at all. My head was pounding right above each eye. And I took the Swish, and it went away. And Swish flew me down to Miami to meet with one of the leading concussion researchers. And I sat down with her and I said, listen, ma'am, I says, I've never told anybody who knows what they're talking about what happened to me. And I says, you might tell me I'm absolutely full of crap, or you might tell me, I'm right. But I'm going to tell you exactly what happened because I know it was definitive what happened. And I said, I drank it the first time, and it went from over both eyes to the right eye. Did it again, went to my temple. Every time I took it, it went further back into the back of my brain, to the back of my head. It went away in 4 hours and gone. I never had another problem with it. And she looked at me and she goes, "That's exactly what should have happened." And so she, not only did she want to do a study on it, but she also bought stock in the company. So, yeah. So we're pretty excited. We're going to get it. It's not right now. It's we're working on getting it certified as a drug-free product because you got to do that to get it in the NFL and college football programs. But we are really excited about the opportunities, and we think that what we encourage people to do is study glutathione. Don't study Swish. Study glutathione. The more you study glutathione and what it could do for you, for your focus, attention, recovery, health, it's amazing. And so that's how we. I'm not a salesman. I told the guys, I said, if you call in, I think you get 35% off if you use the code Coach Bill on your first order. I think it's worth doing.
No, I mean, I can vouch for that because glutathione is fantastic stuff, and it literally will helps with your heart, helps with the liver support. Because there are a lot of guys obviously taking some anabolic steroids and stuff, and like that's something that helps tremendously with keeping the blood work in better range and things like that. So a lot of benefits to glutathione. Now, with your backtracking a little with your elbow pain, was that in the point of the elbow?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay, because I've been there, man. I lost the year of benching thanks to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the one time I went through about 4 weeks where I couldn't bench press, and boy, I thought it was over. But
I'll try that gelatin.
Yeah. Watch what happens in 3 days. You're like, golly. You always kind of wonder that how many times you go walking around the store and there's just some item there that it's the spice rack or whatever that could change your life. Hey, I'll tell you another thing. I haven't told this for a long time. There's a web page. If you really enjoy studying strength training, supplementation, research, and it's just simple, okay? They come out with a new research at least every day, and it's called ergo-log.com, okay? ergo-log.com. And when you get in there, you're going to go, you pick a subject, and you could spend all day studying whatever that protein, whatever you want to study. They have nothing but research. And what's really cool about it is occasionally they'll post the study and they'll say, listen, take this study for what it's worth because the company that makes it or the one that paid for the study. And, there's no, I don't know how they make any money, but there's no bias there. It's just straight out facts, and it's simple, it's easy to read. So that's my go-to page.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna look into all that stuff.
Yeah.
So are you, Bill? Are you waiting till you're like 70 to start getting on some cycles?
That's Dave Tate told me. He says, Bill, the only way you could prove to people that you're drug-free is if you went on drugs. And he goes, now at your age, it wouldn't prove or, wouldn't do you any good anyway, but it's just, I've enjoyed the process, I don't ever want to go through a stage where I know, okay, I'm not going to get stronger, because I know from what I understand, that's what happens when I quit taking them, and I don't want to go through that, So I enjoy getting better, and I don't want to go through a stage where I'm not going to get better. That makes sense?
Have you ever gotten checked by the doctor or anything? Like checked your testosterone? Or?
Yeah, it's bad.
Really?
It's bad. It's low. It's real low. And my wife gets mad, and my daughter gets mad because they're like, you got to do something about it because you're so low. You're just a blog, But
you get you fixed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
No,
might.
I respect that.
You might hit a PR at 100 or something. You know.
I know. That's what when I told people. I said, "Man, I can't wait till I'm 70. Who knows what I might bench at 70?" My wife's like, "You better not be thinking that."
So, at what point? Like, when did you become a Christian? Like, when did that?
Oh man, great question. I never went to church until my senior year in high school, and when someone told me about liberty, I I asked them. I says, "Well, I have to wear a robe." Because I thought I was going to a monastery. I never even had heard of a Christian school before. So,
That's hilarious.
I was so desperate because I came from a background that I didn't know the difference between right and wrong, you know, and I needed that in my life. And my father got saved. And I saw it was real, and then I said, "Okay, wait a minute. Now this has got to be. This is real." And then I accepted Christ as my Savior July 5th, 1978. And 1 month later, I finished a 4-day bus ride to Lynchburg, Virginia, to walk on the football team. Didn't know a soul. Didn't know anybody. I just knew this is where God called me to go. I didn't have any money. I just came, and I loved it here, and I flourished as a young man.
That's awesome. That reminds me. Have you seen that movie about the guy he went to University of Arkansas as a walk-on? It was a Christian movie. It was really good. Football movie. I'm trying.
Oh, is it with the big giant dude? Is that?
Yeah, he died in the car crash.
Oh no!
I just gave away. Dang, I just spoiled it. No, it's a good movie. I'm trying to remember, man. It's on Netflix. It was one of the best movies I've seen. 100% real.
Wow. Wow.
And this guy was like a really good All-American, and he just walked on. And it was a Christian-based movie, but I'm trying to spacing out on it right now.
Yeah. No.
That's a good one. You got to see that one.
But no, God had just blessed my life, and I grew and flourished at Liberty, and developed my own, developed values of what I thought were important, and met my wife in town, and she's incredible. My wife looks like she's 30 years old, and we've been married for 37 years. We have 2 children. She's director of mammography for the Central Virginia Health System. Runs like 9 mammography departments. So she's very, very successful. We have a son that lives in Connecticut, and he's did some powerlifting, put up some decent benches and deadlifts. And then my daughter lives in Denton, Texas. And her husband's working on his PhD in history at University of North Texas. So we're going to go see them very soon here. So blessed man.
Okay, I just realized the movie. You got to see this, Bill. I'm serious.
Yeah.
The movie is called Greater. It's about Brandon Burlsworth.
Okay.
Like I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. It's a fantastic movie. I'm telling you, it's you got to watch it.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Look it up.
Great.
See, all right?
I will.
I promise you. Fantastic. No, one thing I've came up with this. I like to ask, like, what are the 3 things what are the 3 biggest things in your life as far as like, I told Scott, mine were, I like dogs, I like lifting, and then I like going to Maui. So just outside of like your wife, obviously, like I would say the same, my fiance and my relationship with the Lord, like what are the 3 things that really you're passionate about?
I love to fish and hunt.
Okay.
I love it. Hunting screws up my lifting season in the fall every year. I'm not very good at hunting. I don't think I am. I've never shot a giant buck. I certainly have tried, but I've never gotten. Now fishing, I've gotten some monster fish. I've done really well fishing. I've caught a big old king salmon out there in Washington State that was gigantic, and some big steelhead. I'm bow fishing right now. That's what most of the big. I fished at a lake where they caught the world record catfish about 4 or 5 years ago. It was 143 pounds. It's about an hour and a half away from here. And I want to catch a big one, but I've never caught one anything near. My biggest one's like 23. So
It's all right.
yeah. So, but I got a really nice boat. It's all set up for fishing. And but tomorrow I'm going bow fishing tomorrow morning, and try to just go out there and shoot carp. So
All right.
I love the outdoors.
Yeah, you gotta not move, man, because you're like built like a bear, kind of. So probably when you're out in the woods, you're like rustling all these leaves, like.
Yeah, that's why I started hunting at a blind this last year, and I think that's what the trick is. Because when I'm up in a tree stand, I think I stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Too big.
That
I'm too
makes sense.
big up there.
Scott, I don't think you've ever said your 3 things.
Man, put
You
him on
gotta-
the spot, bro. That's crazy. It's like, what are my 3 things? I don't even know, dude. I was telling you,
You
I
think about
actually
it.
was telling you the other day, I like driving out in the country because here where I live in Medford, there's just nice country roads and stuff, and it's like, for me, that's like so peaceful, like probably just nature in general. For me, when I go out in
Awesome.
nature, my mind is like perfect. So I love that.
I get
Well-
that. 100%.
I want to get into hunting actually for that reason, just to be in nature.
Yeah. Hey, Pete, if I get to go on a trip near Knoxville, you mind if I get a hold of you? And I'd love to stop by and meet you in person and just maybe get if we can get a meal together and just talk about training.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That would be awesome. I'd really enjoy that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're not far from me. We've been to Roanoke for a couple USPA meets, but we haven't been out by Lynchburg, but it's not that far.
No. No, it's
I'd
only
love
about
to have
5
you at
hours.
the gym, buddy.
Yeah, I could go see Duncan, and
Yeah, we'll bring him by.
yeah. So
Just coordinate something. Let me know anytime. You guys can stop in anytime. You're more than welcome.
that'd be
And,
awesome.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an experience. I was actually just telling Pete about this verse, anyways. And for me, it kind of became like this. I don't know, turning point in my life or something. This message. But I was, I've always loved powerlifting. I've loved it. I've always wanted to be a powerlifter. I just more than anything a fan. I've always been a big fan of powerlifting and found a lot of meaning in it. And also for me, martial arts too. I've done a lot of martial arts, but I got to a point in my life where it was like those things weren't really making my life better, and I really was struggling with what's the reason I'm doing this? It just felt like dead. Like everything was just dead to me. Oh man, there's just all these things I love. They've lost their whatever. I've lost the desire. The passion's gone. And then I was working at an airport with this guy, and it was crazy because I got to know the guy, and he told me, about, I think it was Paul, the Apostle Paul, but he said, Paul said, I have become all things to all people in order that some could be saved. And he said, I have become weak to win the weak. I've become strong to win the strong. And this guy, he starts telling me, he's like, God made you into this, powerlifting stuff and into martial arts because those people are never going to come to the church, So God is going to actually use you to send you out. And it was really cool because it kind of gave this meaning to me that where I had no meaning. I mean, I had absolutely none. And I was like, the only reason I continued was because it was such a big part of my identity. I was like, I don't even know who I would be if I wasn't into this stuff. I'd be like nobody. I'd be just some nobody. So I'm stuck Eminem's 25 to Life song. It's too late. It's too late for the other side. But have you ever gone through anything like that? I mean, you were talking about having bad decades and stuff. For me, it's hard to wrap my mind around that.
Yeah. My mentor taught me years ago to not have my identity in who I was as a lifter and what I did, but who I was in Christ. And that's where my identity has to be. And when I do that, I try to stay focused on, that's that freedom in Christ that I can have because I understand who I am in Christ. And I know how weak I am. I know how easily I could be not able to do anything. And how thankful I am. It's humbling to be able to do anything at all because, I fell out of a tree stand back in my late 20s, and I landed on my neck and broke my back in 3 places. And I missed the boulder by like 2 inches from my head from hitting the boulder. I would have been dead.
Wow.
And I got up and walked out of the woods with a broken back, but I came so close to being paralyzed, it's unbelievable. And you remember those moments and you look back and with the grace of God to say, hey, I have a purpose for your life. And this is what I want you to do for right now. And because if you don't go and have your identity in Christ, if your identity's in your lifting, what are you going to do when you're done lifting? You have nothing, And so that's why I have to put Christ first in my life so that I have a balance in my life. Otherwise, I don't have anything because I can lose it all in a second,
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, when I was going through times where I was not aligned with Christ, I was miserable. Like it was just, it was things go poorly, and you hate yourself and you hate what you're doing, and you're miserable, and lifting isn't fun anymore. Like Scott said, where I lost the luster for it, and it's like that's completely been revived now. Like I love it, I enjoy it. I don't have to get angry. It's because I'm not attaching my self-worth and my identity to that like I used to.
Right.
That's what's freed me up more than anything.
But Christ wants you. What He wants you to do is He wants to see how far and how far you're able to take your body. And so many times I've seen so many athletes who limit their abilities because they don't see who they are in Christ. They think they're limited by who they think they are. And the truth is that when you give up who you think you are, you have this freedom to become the athlete. When you go to the IPF Worlds, the first time the athletes come, what the biggest problem we have with them is teaching them that they belong on the stage. They just don't think they belong up there. And after their first year, they realize, oh, hey, I belong up there, and they flourish. And they come back the next year, and they're putting up these gigantic lifts the second year because they realize they belong there. We're not always going to get that opportunity to go to a stand on a platform and compete at that level to get that exposure. We have to go and understand that freedom of who Christ wants us to be is there waiting for us, and it's bigger than anything you've ever dreamed or imagined. All right, bigger than anything than you could ever comprehend. I remember when I was in college, Kazmar was benching 661, and I remember trying to hold 500, and I'm thinking, there's no way any man could ever bench 600 pounds, And Bill, he gave me a hard time every time he met me, and he'd tell me, I couldn't be 80% all my life, and now I can go, yeah, well, I might be 80%, but I'm over 300 pounds ahead of you. So,
Julius said pretty much the same thing. He's like, don't limit yourself. Don't limit your potential.
No, that's the thing. We all sit there. We're all human. We all go through this. We're all sitting there going, "This is impossible. I don't feel good. I don't feel right. I don't. How many days you go in there and actually go, boy, I feel like I could do anything. Man, those days are rare. Most of the time, you're going to go in there and go, man, I just don't know. And you limit yourself because of it, because you have the self-doubt. You don't think, well, I don't know if I could do that or not. You can't be that way. You can't depend on yourself. You have to have that freedom and joy of the opportunity to express this talent that God gave to you, to put it on the platform and say, hey, here you go, God, look what I got. I'm gonna present my body a living sacrifice to you. Do it that you want. Bless it if you want. Bless it if you don't. Don't bless it. Just here it is. It's yours. And most of the time, God does some incredible things in your life. And maybe they're not all that incredible, because maybe it could be even more incredible. You know what I'm saying?
It's super cool, man. Like, there's this guy, his name's Daniel Walsh. He's like a power lifter. He's a pretty strong guy. But he actually contacted me just from watching these podcasts. And he's like in Ireland or Scotland or something like that. And he was like, man, you guys are like changing my life and like totally inspiring me. And hearing all this stuff is really, really making a difference for me. And he's like, I could tell it was because, like Pete is kind of somebody where people go, this guy's a badass. He's a power lifter. He's super strong. That's kind of what they're paying attention to. But then there's things that matter, to people that they need to hear this kind of stuff. Like that guy, this guy, Dan, he's, to me, that's like the most awesome thing is something like that, having a guy reach out like that and tell me, like he's really inspired. And I was like, dang, thanks for telling me, bro.
Yeah. I want to leave more of a legacy than just I benched a lot of weight.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I want to leave a legacy that helped other people change their life, even if they're not a bench presser. Maybe they're just an average Joe, but they could take what the experiences that I have and apply it to their lives and their walk with Christ, and maybe they could become something extraordinary in some other area of their life. Maybe
I realize that.
Maybe the greatest janitor of all time. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when we pass away, like, no one cares really about our numbers. The numbers will be surpassed and such. No one cares about you as a lifter. And this is something I've had to come to realize, like, I can be selfish and care only about my lifting, but it's not going to influence anyone, or I can try to help people and be good to people and indirectly affect people, directly affect people. And that's what matters. It grows like a weed. Like you affect one person, you affect another person, it spreads. And that's how we have to be. So I try to be, I've matured a lot in the last few years, but like it's not just about our own wants and everything. Like we can really influence people, and that's what it boils down to. That's what matters. And if we're polite and kind and all that kind of stuff, like we're gonna make the world a better place. So
and courageous, yes, because it's going to take courage. It's going to take courage to make to keep fighting. It's going to take courage when you don't feel like you can go on, or you don't feel like it's worth going on. It's going to take courage to stand up and be that man when everybody else is going to say, no, hey, why don't you do it this way? No, I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to and keep fighting the good fight, because that's the right way to do it.
Yes, sir. There's plenty of times I've like thought about quitting and like why, like my body hurts. Why am I doing this still? I'm not getting anywhere. And you just keep pushing, and you get through the storms, and eventually the light shines through, and that's what's happened. So
yeah. I've had a lot of times where people told me to quit lifting. I had a real major problem with creatine. I can't take creatine. My kidneys shut down, and I black out. And everybody told me I had benched 639, and everybody told me, oh man, that's as good as you're ever going to do. You're never going to do any more than that. You should stop. And my grandmother pulls me aside, grabs me by the arm, and says, don't you dare stop being who you are. You've always wanted to be strong. Don't you dare stop being strong. I'm like, okay, Grandma. I won't stop, Grandma.
That's amazing.
But she was, that's what I got this iron will from my mom, and my mom got it from my grandma. So my grandma knew exactly where I was coming from. She understood what I needed to do and how I needed to keep fighting. No, I would have never benched over 1,000 pounds if it wasn't for my grandma telling me, hey, keep going. Stop. Don't sit there and stop. Keep being who you're meant to be, I'm like, okay, Grandma.
Now, how do you navigate this? Like, me and Pete have talked a lot about this. Like, we don't want to be pushy towards people or anything like that. like people tell people like, oh, I believe in God, but not push it on people. And then, but like Julius, he's just like totally outspoken, like super outspoken. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, pray for people, everything, And like, would you like with Louis Simmons, for example? I think that'd be amazing to like preach the gospel to Louis Simmons. Would you like do that?
My mentor did. My mentor did. He mentioned it to Louis. Louis was polite and respectful, but they went, like my mentor and another assistant went up to visit Westside, and all the guys went out for lunch, and they stayed and they cleaned the weight room there. They said they said they had machines there that were red. They didn't even know was red until they started cleaning it. And they started playing Christian music, and they said they could swear the walls were screaming, having Christian music in there. But Louis walks in, and he hears the Christian music, and he sees these guys serving. Here they are guests, but they're cleaning up the weight room. And Louis like, I've never even seen this place like this before. That's a way that you could be presenting the gospel, is you go and make yourself a servant, and you go and say, hey, you're not asking for anything, you're not going and demanding anything, but instead you're just serving. And that's my mentor, Dave Williams. That's the kind of heart he has, where he goes in and he's a servant, and because of that, people want to listen to him because of the fact he's got such a servant's heart.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're encouraging and like polite and good to people, that's the best way oftentimes to get your message across. So I try to literally, anybody I come in contact with, I'm like, I try to be very polite and everything, because I'm like, they will respect what you have to say so much more than if you just are like everybody else. And before I moved to Tennessee, I never said things like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And it's like, it's an everyday part of my vocabulary now. It's just a little thing. It means I respect you, and that mutual respect that gets the message across.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with you. You can, amazing what you can accomplish with kindness. And the nice thing is, when you're really big and strong, is you have there's some people that take it and use it to be very arrogant, and they think that empowers them to be a jerk. But I think it's totally the opposite. I think that allows me to be very meek and quiet and polite and nice. I don't have to go and be a jerk anymore, because I am big and strong. I don't have to go and be this guy that everybody assumes I'm going to be. A lot of times I've had people tell me, I can't see you being very tough on the players because you seem like such a too much of a nice guy. And I says, I know how to turn it on when it's time to turn it on. Okay, I know what it takes to be the coach. To be a hard coach when I got to be a hard coach. But the fact is that I don't have to be that way all the time. I have freedom to become the person that people kind of like to be around.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. That. Exactly. I mean, and then you do hear that, like, because it's a confidence thing, right? You're more confident, so you don't have to prove anything. Whereas people who are always trying to prove something, it's kind of an insecurity. If you're not kind or whatever, it's because you're lashing out.
And let's face it, how many of us got into wanting to be strong because we were insecure? I mean,
yeah,
me too. Yeah, we all
Absolutely.
did, and so you're like going and trying to become something so you're more confident with yourself. But the fact is you got to come to grips a long time, and say, hey, wait a minute, you know what? We're all insecure. Everybody's insecure with themselves. And the more you see guys acting like they're not, they're even more insecure than the guys who don't act that way. So I've learned to put my trust in Christ, where I don't have to worry about myself. I know I'm weak. I know I'm going to fail. I know that I'm not perfect. All right? But I know that Christ that lives in me is. And that's the part I'm going to let people see.
Yeah, live real, live unashamed.
Yeah. I mean, I listen to, like, I really Ryan Kennelly. I've known Ryan for years, and I listen to his podcast, and I hear him talking about just blatantly saying, there's no filters. You know what I mean? And it's kind of neat to hear because he's just, I'm not very good at this. But he's always complimenting everybody else, and I'm like, boy, Ryan, I'm really proud of you for the man that you are. And I've texted him and told him that, how I'm so proud of him because he just seems to compliment everybody else, encourage everybody else, and he doesn't put on the airs of, hey, I'm the greatest bench presser of all time, which I truly think he is.
Man, oh, that's awesome. Do you have any other questions, Scott?
Usually I ask people if they believe in God, bro, but I'm pretty sure.
I think we know that one.
Yeah. I love that message, man, about serving. I think that's super cool. Like, that's a super powerful way. I always remember the verse that says, don't tell someone to go be warm if you're not going to give them a blanket, Yeah. And it's like there's action involved. And a lot of people, they have a bad taste in their mouth or whatever towards Christianity because people claim they talk about it, but they don't present it well. And then most people are, that are not interested in it, it's because of something like that. It has nothing to do with like the story of Jesus or the gospel. Like if they actually learned about Jesus, they'd be like, wow, this guy's like really amazing. Because how could you not? But it's usually people that rub people the wrong way and are hypocrites. And I always, I tell them, I think I told a couple people on the podcast, like, when Jesus came, he actually came against the church. He didn't come and cater to the church and lift the church up. He went to the church leaders and he was like, you guys are fake. You guys are fake and you're not doing things right. And then he went and healed the low, like you're talking about, the meek people with afflictions. He went and healed those people who were not believers, who were like scumbags, and they became believers. They became the real ones.
He came to serve and not to be served.
Yeah.
And that's how we should be too. But who are we, man? We're scum. The Bible says the most righteous person you've ever met is as filthy rags, that's menstrual rags, compared to Christ. I mean, where does that put me? I'm scum, okay? That's just flat out. And anything you might see good in me isn't from me, it's from Christ, okay? It's just flat out how it is. I'm going to fail. I'm going to disappoint you because I'm human. But I'm trying my best to allow Christ to live through me so you can see Christ and not me.
Love it.
Awesome, you guys. That was amazing. And just let's end and give Dan Walsh a shout out. He'll like that.
Shout out to Dan. I saw his comment too. He's like, Pete's coming back. This is it. I'm so pumped. So I saw it. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. I didn't know what to expect, and in fact, when Scott kept talking about Pete, I kept going, I don't know if he's going to be Pete or you or not. I didn't know. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I had never met you, and I'm like, gosh, it'd be so great to get to talk to him, And it's awesome to get to talk with you. And,
yes, sir.
I hope that we can all meet together one day soon and encourage each other and talk more in depth on training.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys.
Julius is going to be going to Pete's gym. I think he's going to do it after his 800 bench. He was telling me his training's really ramping up, but that would be cool, man. Like if you did it at that time.
What I thought would be really, really cool is if we had a competition. If you took the equipped guys and see how much over 1,000 you could bench, and take the raw guys and see how much you bench over 700 and see who wins.
Yeah,
that would be fun. That would be a real kick in the pants, because I respect raw bench presser. I mean, Julius, what he's doing, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm not one of these guys who go, oh, you got to do it my way, or I bench more than you do.
That-
No, hey, I admire.
That reminds me, I think it'd be fascinating because I don't know if he's been on much. Dave Hoff, if we had him on,
Yeah,
we should do it.
I was, yeah, I was next to
throwing that
Dave
out,
up
Scott.
on West Side, but I never got to go and talk to Dave.
He's hard to
Louis
get.
He
He's hard
told
to
me
get.
not to talk to him.
I've talked to Dave a little bit, but he's a little elusive. I talked to Ryan Kennelly too, actually, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come on," and then I can't get a hold of him again. I'm like, "Bro, what's your email or whatever? Like, what do I got to do, man?" And some guys just do that. Chris Bell, I talked to Chris Bell, and he said he wanted to come on, and I can't get a hold of him again though.
I think sometimes guys are nervous. We're gonna be hard on them. I'm like, I'm never gonna be hard on anybody. I'm gonna be respectful of you. So you got nothing to worry about. You come on here, but it's hard to get that across sometimes.
You hear that, Johnny Candido? He was another one. I talked to Candido once, and then he's like, "I think I can do it" or something, and then I haven't heard from him again. But
it's all good.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I really enjoyed it, and you're awesome. And maybe if I could put up another big bench sometime here, maybe we could do this again.
Yes, sir. Would love to.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank
Appreciate
you both.
it.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Oh, hey, Dan Bell here. As many of you guys know, I'm a world's strongest powerlifter. I actually just finished up reading this book from Scott Davenport's Mixed Martial Arts. I love how he gets in the mindset grit required to become successful. Scott tells a story of how it was installed in him in his early years. He then takes you through his rise through fighting, the camps, the coaches, his influences, and his opponents. He also dives into the hardships, the challenges, and injuries, everything that he needed to overcome. Scott's virtues and faith carried him through these hardships and challenges to find your own. That mindset and that lessons that Scott learned and expressed in this book can be transferred to almost any endeavor. If you're interested in this story and how hard work, perseverance, faith can carry a person to their goals, this book is definitely for you.